After 48 hours without any food, the hunger just vanished. But something else took its place. My body, in a desperate bid to survive, was essentially cannibalizing itself, and for the first time in years, my mind was completely silent. I was finally in control. So, how did I end up here? It all started with the decision to lock myself away from the world and from food for 72 hours. Sounds a little crazy, I know, but it was a last-ditch effort from a man who'd been pushed to the very edge. You know that feeling? Like you're constantly running on a hamster wheel, just getting nowhere? That was my life. 32 years old, chained to a desk, drowning in deadlines and the ghost of a failed marriage. My world was loud, it was chaotic, and my own mind was the noisiest place of all. I felt mentally foggy, physically drained, and my doctor's last warning about my health was starting to sound less like advice and more like a ticking clock. I was broken. I needed a reset, not a vacation, not a new hobby. I needed something extreme, something that would strip everything away and force me to face the weakness I felt inside. So I made a choice. 72 hours, no food, just water, some electrolytes, and the four walls of my apartment. This wasn't about losing weight. This was about proving to myself that I could endure, that I could conquer the primal, screaming instinct to eat and find out what was on the other side. As I slammed the fridge shut that first night, I had no idea I was about to walk through hell to find a little piece of heaven. The first few hours? Deceptively easy. My body was still running on fuel from my last meal, coasting on stored sugar called glycogen. I even felt a surge of misplaced confidence. I got this, I thought. But as the clock ticked past the 12-hour mark, the first real enemy showed up. Hunger. It started as a dull ache I could ignore, but it quickly grew into a gnawing, insistent demand from the deepest part of my brain. The battle had begun. The first 24 hours are a war fought entirely on the physical front. Your body, which is used to a constant supply of energy, starts to panic. After about 12 hours, your main fuel tank, the glycogen in your liver and muscles, begins to run dry. To compensate, your body initiates a process called metabolic switching. Think of it like a hybrid car that has only ever used its gas engine and is suddenly forced to run on its electric motor. That switch is anything but smooth. The hunger pangs became relentless. My energy flickered on and off like a faulty light bulb. I tried to go about my day, but every single movement felt like it was costing me something precious. A dull headache started to throb, a constant drumbeat of my body's protest. This is what most people are afraid of, and it's why most people quit. The physical pain, the weakness, the feeling that your body is betraying you. But underneath that protest, something incredible was starting to happen. With no food coming in, my body had to look inward for fuel, and it found a surprising source: itself. This is where the dramatic idea of self-cannibalism comes from. Scientifically, it's a process known as autophagy. The word literally means self-eating, and it's your body's ultimate recycling program. Your cells start hunting down old, damaged and dysfunctional parts, misfolded proteins, worn-out components, and other cellular junk that clogs up the system. They break this junk down, recycle what's useful, and get rid of the rest. It's a deep cellular spring cleaning that's hardwired into our DNA as a survival mechanism. As my body began to devour its own broken-down components, I wasn't just getting weaker. On a cellular level, I was getting cleaner. The hunger wasn't just a sign of emptiness, it was the signal that the cleanup crew had finally arrived. Waking up on day 2 was like surfacing from a deep, murky dive. The physical hunger was still there, but now it had a much tougher sidekick: my own mind. This, right here, is the abyss. The period between 24 and 48 hours is where the real transformation begins, and honestly, it's terrifying. My body had burned through all its sugar stores and was now frantically trying to ramp up a new fuel source: ketones, which are made from body fat. This difficult transition can bring on what's known as the keto flu: intense fatigue, irritability, and a brain fog so thick you can barely string a sentence together. I was dizzy, nauseous, and an emotional wreck. Studies have shown that short-term fasting can trigger negative emotions like anxiety and irritability. The physical battle was over. The psychological war had just begun. My mind, deprived of its usual easy energy, turned on me. It dredged up every failure, every insecurity, every fear I'd ever had. The room felt like it was closing in on me. I wasn't just fighting hunger anymore, I was fighting the darkest parts of my own psyche. This is the part of the journey no one can really prepare you for. It felt like I was losing my mind. But then, somewhere around the 48-hour mark, a switch flipped. The headache faded, the nausea disappeared, and the chaos in my mind, it just went silent. As my body fully adapted to running on ketones, my brain started receiving a steady, high-quality stream of fuel. The fog lifted. And I'm not just talking about the fog from the fast, but the fog that had been clouding my life for years. In its place was a profound and shocking clarity. For the first time, I felt a sense of control and a feeling of achievement that was more nourishing than any food could ever be. The agony of the fast was being replaced by a powerful sense of reward. I wasn't being broken, I was being rebuilt. Day 3 was a revelation. I woke up not to hunger, but to a quiet, humming energy. The gnawing cravings were gone, replaced by a feeling of pure, clean power. This is the peak of the mountain. My body was now a finely tuned machine running almost exclusively on its own fat. Scientifically, this is when many of the most profound benefits are thought to be in full swing. Autophagy, that deep cellular cleanup, is working hard. Production of growth hormone increases, which helps protect muscle mass while the body burns fat. And maybe most importantly, this is a chance for the immune system to reset. Some studies suggest that prolonged fasting can help clear out old, damaged immune cells, and once you start eating again, it triggers the regeneration of new, healthier ones. But beyond the science, the feeling was just one of ultimate empowerment. The constant noise of desire and craving that had run my life was just gone. I was no longer a slave to my impulses. I was the master of my own ship. The mental clarity I had was unlike anything I'd ever felt. Sharp, focused, and calm. It turns out that when you prove to yourself you can conquer something as fundamental as hunger, the other anxieties of life start to seem pretty small. The 72 hours didn't eat me alive. I had eaten my own fears. Breaking the fast is a critical moment. You can't just dive back into a huge meal. Reintroducing food too quickly can be a dangerous shock to your system, a condition known as refeeding syndrome. So, my first meal wasn't a feast. It was a simple cup of warm bone broth. The sensation was electric. It was more than just taste. It was my body waking back up, gently and with purpose. In the days that followed, the changes were impossible to ignore. Sure, I'd lost some weight, mostly water and fat, but that was the least important part. The real change was internal. The mental fog was gone, my energy was stable, and I carried with me the unshakable knowledge that I had walked through fire and come out stronger on the other side. This journey taught me that self-cannibalism isn't about destruction. It's about renewal. It's about tearing down the old and broken to make room for the new and strong. It was a controlled demolition of my own weakness. If this story resonated with you, Hit that subscribe button and share your own experiences with discipline and transformation in the comments below. What challenge have you overcome that made you feel truly empowered? So, was it worth it? Absolutely. Those 72 hours were some of the most difficult and rewarding of my entire life. I went in feeling weak, controlled by my cravings and my own chaotic mind. I came out feeling empowered, resilient, and finally in control. I learned that the enemy wasn't the hunger or the weakness. The real enemy was the voice in my head that told me I couldn't do it. Fasting wasn't about starving my body, it was about feeding my spirit. It was a reminder that within all of us is an untapped well of strength, just waiting for us to be bold enough to draw from it.